You are now listening to the Insomnia Overdose show, a podcast that focuses on celebrating all types of art and talking to artists about their passions, their journey, and making an impact.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm really excited to get talking to you and to learn more about yourself, what inspires you, your current projects, and what you hope to do someday. So I don't know. This is
Yeah, thank you
Frohne.
for having me. This is a good
Frohne, by
thing.
the way. How would you describe yourself? What do you do, Frohne? Tell everybody here.
I do a lot of photography and like freelance graphic design and stuff like that.
Very nice. So getting right into it, what would you say inspires you? This is a very deep question. Go into it as far as you go. What inspires you? What thing? What person? Go into it. Tell us everything.
For me, there's a mix. The inherent that root inspiration for me was actually it had to be beauty. Like, life it's an interesting thing with its ups and downs, but no matter what, to me at least, beauty is that one thing that makes, will take life to that next level, and the search for beauty. And for me, especially like photography, it's it's an art form for me. Some people see it as, use it as a tool or whatever, just capturing the moment. For me, it's art. Like I'm trying to make the most beautiful thing I can make, because
That's really
I
cool.
think beauty has such a powerful powerful effect on people and can really positively impact their lives. And I enjoy it myself. So
And it's such a raw concept, It's like it's very contextual. Like
for
you can
sure.
find beauty in most things if you really look and the way you frame it, especially with photography.
That's
It's really
right.
about
Yes,
having
I
that vision.
agree.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I find that very interesting. Uh, where did you start, Frohne? Where did you came from? Like, what
Wow.
are
It
your
was a
roots?
long time back. I actually started
Where was
young.
that first picture?
So for me, my dad teaches at the university, Walla University, and so he gets summers
Mhm.
off. And so from a young age, we would take summers and we would go on road trips and whatever, and like drive across the country, drive to Alaska, drive down some. We take
Alaska.
whole
Drive to
months. Yeah, we actually
Alaska.
have a little cabin up there. So
Oh wow.
um,
How
went up
long is
there.
that drive?
It's actually it's a little bit longer than it takes a little less time to drive down to the like tip of Florida than it does to get to Anchorage.
Wow.
So
Was
I
that
want
a
to say
couple
takes
days?
about, if you're going flat out, it takes about 4 days.
Wow.
But obviously when we would go, there's a lot of the beauties along the way in Canada and stuff, and
Yeah.
so we would take like 3 weeks going up and
Wow.
spend 3 weeks there and then 3 weeks on the way back. But yeah, we would spend most of the summer traveling around doing road trips. And like when I was would have been probably around like 6 or 7, my dad got his first like DSLR, digital
Wow.
SLR camera, and I thought that
So
was,
young.
that was really incredible. Well, that was my dad that got it.
Well, of
And
course, right.
that kind of started, obviously, little kid thing with buttons,
Sure,
take photos. It's really cool. It's
for
new. It's
sure.
modern. Not many people have them. I'm like, yeah, I wanna mess around
Yes,
with that.
yeah.
And so probably,
Uh-huh.
I want to say I got my first DSLR when I was probably like, I want to say like 7, 8, something like that.
Wow. Wow.
Um, and I started
That's
just
really
taking
cool.
photos. Well, they were awful, of
Of
course.
course, of course.
But I just kind of stuck with it and
Yeah.
kept, and I took hundreds and hundreds and thousands of photos. Um, Thankfully back then, I think my first DSLR was, I want to say like 7 megapixels or something, so the files were tiny and whatever.
Sure.
But I just took thousands and thousands of photos, and I enjoyed that. Like,
Just slowly getting
uh,
there, yeah.
I enjoyed posting them to different
Instagram?
blogs, and back
Was there
then Google
Instagram
Plus
back
was my
then?
social media.
Google Plus was the
Yeah,
spot.
Instagram wasn't really a thing
It
that
didn't
much yet.
exist back then, I would guess. Yeah.
Yeah, people had Facebook, but I didn't use
Facebook.
Facebook. Google
Google
Plus was the
Plus.
new
Google Plus.
emerging social media
Yes,
before
sir.
it died.
You
And
got it right.
so, and so, I enjoyed that. and I went on. I also like I would enter my photos in competitions as I got older.
Oh, that's cool.
Um,
How did that work
and
out?
it did well. Like I had my
Actually,
photos.
wow,
I had my photos in Nat Geo Kids several times.
wow, wow.
I had my photo twice won a competition and was featured in Vice President Joe Biden's house.
Look at
And
that.
so yeah, I enjoyed that. But then I kind of, by that time, I was really into it, but
Yeah,
kind of got to high school, and at high school other things kind of took priority,
for sure.
and I was really focused on soccer and other things, and so I didn't really take that many photos throughout high school. But then into college, first year college, I started realizing that what I was missing, and I was trying to think about my life and think about what things really were positive in my life, and realize photography was
Yeah,
a really great thing that I really
it's really
enjoyed and
cool.
was a
Yeah,
positive thing. And so I've started really hitting it pretty hard again.
that's really
Also,
cool.
through that time in high school, I did do a little bit of graphic design on the side. I did
Sure.
some like freelance work for stuff.
When you start to
And
pick
what
it
I
up,
did is
yeah,
I started in high school. I
yeah,
started um, by offering to influencers to make like logos and stuff for them
sure.
if they followed me.
That's really
And so
cool.
I gained enough large 300, 400,
Yeah,
500K Instagram follower
decent.
accounts following me. And so I started to pay get pay clients. And
Very nice.
so I've worked for some NBA players. Right now I'm currently working
Look at
for
that.
this guy said Hija. He was the #2 pick in the 2018 MLS draft. He
Wow,
literally just texted
very
me
nice.
like 5 minutes ago asking me to do some stuff for him. But I've basically
Running some serious business.
set up a clothing brand for him and do design all his
That's really
products
cool.
and stuff. So that's kind of my story.
Look at that.
Just kind of brief overview of it there.
Very nice. Well, hopefully we'll get more into it
Yeah.
as time goes by. But that's
Hmm.
really interesting. Uh, Frony and I we went to the same school. We met through mutual friends, kind of. Right now that we're both at our high school and stuff like that. But there's a lot of stuff I didn't know, so that was really interesting. Uh, really cool stuff that you that you've been up to. Well, my next question, you kind of already described it. I don't know if you want to give more details or go into one of your favorite stories, but where has your art taken you, or what relationships has it created for you? If you
It's
want
it's
to,
it's really, yeah, it's a that's another part that I really enjoy about photography. Everyone sees the results, but it's about the experience. It's about
of
getting out
course,
and going to these incredible
the
places.
journey, yeah,
Yeah, and you enjoy the places, and it's so many great memories. Life is built on memories.
yeah,
And I've made so many
that's really
incredible
cool.
memories going to these wonderful places, and you get the experience, and then also you get this incredible work of art after the experience. And I know some people, they view photography a little bit differently than me in some respects. To they'll go and they want to capture a place, whatever, like exactly how it is, exactly how
Yeah,
they see it.
sure,
But for me, I'm kind of like, paint. If you see a painter, sometimes
sure,
you will at these, beautiful places, you'll see people out
sure.
painting.
Oh, really?
They're out there
That's really
and they
cool.
make it look like what it is, but they make it
Yeah,
as beautiful as possible. Because
sure,
no matter what, a camera, even if you capture the exact same light levels and whatever, it's not going to look as pretty on the
sure.
through the lens as your eye. And so, for me, it's about taking the photo and then coming back and editing it and making it as beautiful as possible.
Giving it a vision, right?
Hmm.
You
And
see
then
something,
that wonderful piece of art, every time I see it, I look back and think, oh man, I remember that hike we went. We hiked, till 4 a.m. and whatever, and it's really a great
making
thing.
memories, taking
Yes, for
experiences.
sure.
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. How does your art kind of mixing with your life? What's the balance? What part does it take in your life, in your daily life, in your plans?
So
How
for
do you
me,
manage that?
yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, balance. Like, for me, I'm obsessed with soccer. I spend so much time playing soccer. I play almost every day. And photography is another hobby that I have to balance with work and everything, and
Sure.
all my other things. And then graphic design, mainly it started as a hobby and I use it with my
Yeah.
photography. My
So
photography is
little
more
job.
hobby orientated. I
Yeah.
haven't made that much money from photography. I've done a few like business shoots and senior
Sure.
photos and other like things where I've made a little bit, but I don't generally like hammer that
Of course.
as being a moneymaker. Whereas the graphic design, it's
More
I
incentive.
have made a fair amount of money from that, and it's taken some of the joy out of it to some extent. Once you start
Mm.
doing something for work, it does take some of the joy, and so
So yeah.
that's why I try to balance, especially with
Sure.
photography, try to balance the amount of work versus enjoyment shoots. And it's also hard because a lot of these, if you want to get the really most beautiful photos you can get, it's about location. And like I just went on a 2-week road trip, and getting
Yeah. I
time
saw that.
off, and the it's not cheap, though. For me, I'm a very frugal person, so I'll go around, and like
Very
we
nice.
went on this
Yeah.
2-week road trip, we didn't spend a penny on lodging the whole time.
Mhm.
And so just like little things that you can cost save. And I'm working DoorDash, which a lot of people think is it's a really low quality job, but
Sure. Sure.
I can work at full time and I can make at least minimum wage, and a lot of times like $15 to $20 an hour for a chill
Mhm.
job that gives me
Yeah.
extremely flexible hours. So if I want to like take off and go on a shoot, I can take off and go on a
Sure.
shoot. And so that's
Yeah.
it is a balance, though, especially if you have school
For
and other
sure.
obligations, trying to get the time off and stuff. But yeah, it's just like any other hobby.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting to see what your kind of priorities are and how you can kind of arrange your life around that. Because I feel like many people can feel like, oh, I need a job or I need to go to school and study. But there's many options out there. And from time to time, as time goes by, there's more options that kind of arises. Maybe DoorDash wasn't available 5 years ago, but now
Yeah,
it has allowed you to really live
for
a
sure.
flexible life where you can really enjoy and
And
have the opportunity.
that's something I kind of want to hit on here quickly. Like this is something a little bit off topic, but something I'm passionate about and kind of goes
Let's
along
hear it.
with what
Let's
you were
hear it.
saying. For me, I really believe that a lot of times we get stuck in a rut of life where we just kind of go along following exactly what everyone
For
else
sure.
does and what all of us around us do. Like humans, to me, I see them as kind of almost a herd animal. Like we follow
Sure.
everyone
Of
else's,
course. Of
you
course.
know, and so a lot of times we don't think about these other possibilities,
Yeah.
that you can work a job like DoorDash and take off a little bit and go travel or whatever, or you can find, you can travel for cheap and you can go to these incredible places for, what other people might pay for a
Of
weekend, you can
course.
go for
Yeah.
2 weeks. And just other little, look at your alternatives, because there's always an alternative. And with a little thinking and a little problem solving, you
Yeah.
can get a long ways, thinking outside the box.
Yes,
Just
sir.
because other people aren't doing it doesn't mean it's not
Yeah.
possible or you shouldn't be doing it. It just means that maybe it'll take a little extra effort, but really the things in life
Mhm.
that are worth it are the things that take that little extra effort.
Yes, sir.
And so that's kind of what I apply towards
Yeah.
my photography and try to apply towards my whole life in general.
That's really wonderful to hear. I really like your perspective in that. Yeah, there isn't only one way to go about your life.
Yeah, no. And a
Look
lot
for
of
the
people I feel like
options
get caught in
and
that
choose.
that
Yeah.
they expect, that that's what their friends are doing, that's what their
Yeah.
parents did, they're just going to go along, and they let their life, they miss so
Kind
many
of pass
opportunities. And
by,
it's about,
right?
yeah, it's about those little opportunities, those little different things that really make life just that extra bit, gives us the zest of life,
This says. Oh, I like that expression. Well, look for the options, guys, and really get out there. Uh, Now moving into more technical stuff per se, or more like hard questions, perhaps. What's your process like? How do you go from I want to take a picture of this landscape? How do you get there? What do you do? How much time do you take? What's your setup like? Give me, give me the details. Give me all that
so
stuff.
so this is where yeah, there's since I started at a young age, I've got to a point where
Sure,
I'm extremely comfortable with, I instantly know settings and
sure.
kind of what I want when I get there. But it takes time, because you, even if you kind of know a general idea, you want to take those photos. And that's the beauty of digital, is you can instantly see it and adjust and whatever. And
Oh yeah.
also I always shoot to edit. And so I have this vision in my mind. I know my editing abilities,
Yeah.
and I know what I want from this
Really
you know scene I'm seeing. And then I go and I try to get the best slate I can get, so I can, when I get that photo downloaded, I can do with it, what I want. And a lot of times it takes a long time. Like, I'll be out at one location, especially like with astrophotography or something. Like, I might be out there 6 or 7 hours, like almost all night, doing just for one photo, because I'll take a 3-hour exposure or something to get as much detail as I can get in the foreground if I'm not able to paint with light or something. And then, I'll take the 30-second, I'm waiting for the, like the Milky Way to line up perfectly where I want it to be. I'll take the 30, I'll have my tripod locked in the same position, take that 30-second exposure of the Milky Way, and then I just simply merge those two photos, which are the exact same place. It's just a different shutter speed. And it makes an incredible, multi-photo. But a lot of times, you have to wait, maybe the Milky Way won't be perfect until 3 a.m. or something. And so you wait there, and, while you're waiting, you're taking other, like super long exposures. Like you take a 3-hour exposure, then you have to wait 3 hours for the exposure to process. And so, it is patience. And then wildlife photography, oh man, I enjoy it. It's challenging though, because a lot of times the best way to do it is really, you need to just find your spot and you just sit there for hours. Time flies by and you're just still sitting there. You're waiting for that bird to come land where you want it. And like, maybe it won't, well, that's tough. But you wait for that shot, and then you get that shot, and it's worth it. And it's these places where you're out there and you're just, it forces you to sit down and relax and just soak in, and it kind of regrounds me. Like I try to get out at least, once a week, and it just regrounds me and kind of refreshes and gives me time to think, and it is a really, really wonderful thing.
I really like, kind of two things that you said there. One thing is, the way I kind of put it is, you shoot for the ingredients, I guess. You shoot for the pieces. Because I feel like many people, especially beginning, in my own experience, when I tried to shoot, I was trying to get that perfect shot, within the first situation, I wanted this to be here and this to be there. And if it didn't work out, I was like, that doesn't work, or something like that. But I think something interesting about maturing in photography or advancing is really getting comfortable with the whole process, really, understanding the kind of the life that the picture takes. Well, that was really interesting to hear. What would you say, this kind of more a deep question of perception or opinion, what would you say the most important thing is in the work of an artist, any type of artist? What do you think is the key piece, key ingredient that should be in the work, or something that is
you gotta love your work yourself. Like, see, I've worked for different people, and I will say sometimes their taste does not align with mine at all, and and even if they tell me exactly what to do, I feel like, I don't know, it's hollow, and you need to love
like
what you're
compromising, right?
And if you're not feeling it for art, at least for me, if you're not feeling that day or that moment, just move on. Just, you can come back. It's all about, you gotta really love what you're doing and love the results, because that's what keeps you going. And it's just, it's all about that. Yeah, that's basically simply it. You just gotta love what you're doing and love
and that. And to some point, I feel like that's what fuels you to keep going. That's what motivates you. That's what.
And when you lose that,
passionate,
it's gone.
Yeah.
And that you don't do as good work without it too.
For sure. How has your kind of practice perhaps changed over time? What has changed? What details you decided to move forward this way? What have you learned?
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, if you look, back at my photography from let's say 2008, 2009, it's gonna look really different from today, and that's a good thing. I took some really beautiful photos when, in my, like, when I was between like 10 and 13. Um,
Sure.
but like, my editing style and my skills have increased, but also,
Of course.
some of my
Naturally.
taste has changed too, and it's matured. I
Sure.
think, you can look, and also art changes over time. If you look at paintings from different times, like what
Very
everyone's kind of,
interesting.
paintings is slower, but photography is a fast changing art. And and I think, you look back, there was a time when I would go really, really saturated on a lot of things
Sure.
and whatever. And there was a time when I would try to fade everything out and just kind of, and that changes, and I think that's okay. I think, and everyone also has their own little taste on that. But for me, yeah, probably what the biggest thing has changed is just kind of learning light and how it works and how you can edit with that. Different settings, what to do
Of
in
course.
with all these different experiences, because the base of photography, if you're shooting auto mode and with JPEG, not RAW, and you're just kind of taking photos,
Yes.
it's pretty easy. It's honestly pretty easy. You can get composition
Sure.
down pretty quickly and kind of figure out roughly what looks good
Sure.
and what doesn't. A year of shooting and you'll have that down decently. Some people have eyes for it. I really do believe
Sure.
that, but um, you can get there's basic rules you can follow that really
Of
help.
course. Of course.
But with settings and lighting and some of these, looking for different angles and perspectives, that's kind of something that, and knowing how, you see, the light this way, but if I move to this, place, this will change the world, for it. Things, just little things that don't seem like that big of a deal, but a lot of people don't really realize them. And once you get
Yeah.
out there, you're like, what do I do if you don't know
Start
them? But at this
developing an
point,
eye.
you kind
Yeah.
of get to the point where you just instinctually know what to do, which is really great. And then like little things that when I was younger, I didn't shoot. Like when I was at first, I started shooting in manual mode before high school, but at first, like I shot, in like program mode where I could adjust, a few settings, and I
Sure.
didn't shoot raw. And shooting in raw is just really important because you can change so much afterwards.
Really.
Like if you messed up any of the settings, you can do whatever you need to, basically, to
Hmm.
change it, which is really wonderful. But yeah, I'd say that's kind of what's
Yeah.
changed.
To follow up on that a little bit, is there any specific lessons that you learned, or is there any specific way, things that you discovered? Like how did you learn? What was your learning process like?
Trial and error, and that's the beauty of
Trial and
digital
error.
photography. Back, my parents, they learned on film cameras, and man,
It's
that's got to be
harder
a
to
struggle
make
when your
mistakes
every
back then,
shot
man.
is like, 25 cents or whatever, and you have to wait, a few weeks to see your shot. Like,
Yeah.
for me, I can shoot a photo and be like, okay, this doesn't look good, let's try something else. And so
Yeah.
just a lot of trial and error. I've probably taken, I don't know, maybe close to 1 million photos.
Wow.
um
Yeah. All the
and
time.
I just have learned over, it's been, yeah, over, it's been like 12 years or something. um and so just kind of trial and error. It's the ultimate way to learn. Some things though that can help is,
Sure.
look at YouTube. We have
Yeah.
these great
We
resources like
have
that
a ton of
really do
resources
help.
out there.
Talk to people who are good at it, and try to go out shooting with them if they know what they're doing. And ask them to go on a shoot. And most
Yes.
photographers I know are always dying to have someone be like, "Yo,
Yeah.
let's go on a shoot." And so even
We
if you don't
work
know what you're
together.
doing, they love
Yeah.
to share. So.
That's really cool. Well, um, that was really cool. I really like that. Uh, where would you want to be in the future? Where do you see yourself going? Where would you love to end up at, or something like that? Yeah.
So
What are
like
your
with
next
taking,
steps?
yeah, I want to go to a point where I know, because I still have so much to learn, especially in the editing front. But even with the photography front, I want to get to a point where I know, exactly what to do in every situation. And I want to, improve my gear a little bit to some extent, so I have a wider range. But that's kind of slowly over time. And also, like, where do I see it taking me, like, almost career wise? I don't see myself necessarily having a career as like a travel photographer or whatever. Though if the opportunity did open itself, I
Sure.
would jump at it. It's just such a competitive field, and I
Hmm.
do know that once I start doing it, like if I was doing it fully for a living, um, it it would probably take some of the joy out of it. Though maybe not. With graphic design, I kind of plan on continuing doing that as a side hustle and having it, I believe it's important to have diversity in your careers and stuff. And so,
Very much so,
if
yeah.
I did end up without a job, I'm quite confident that I could make enough money to live on doing both graphic design and photography, no problem. And so it's really nice to have that as a backup. And then I want to have that throughout my life as something fun and enjoyable that I
Yeah,
can do in some
of course.
way to get out and and some motivation to go to these incredible places,
Yeah.
because it's that little
As you
bit of
said, get
extra
out, right?
motivation to go climb that mountain, get that view, because
Of course.
not only will you have that view to see, but you can share that view with other people, and it's a great feeling, when you're sharing something that's beautiful and you see other people enjoying it. It's a wonderful thing.
That's really cool. Uh, what would you say is some advice that you have for beginners or people that are starting to pick photography or have developed a small interest and you just want to
Just
get to know more?
don't get caught up on what gear you have or whatever at first. Just go out and take photos. Just take photos, learn through trial and error. Try to take 1,000 photos a week. That's honestly not hard at all. And just take photos of different things. Don't worry at first when you're starting out. Do not worry. You see all these incredible photos that these really excellent photographers are taking, and you're like, I want that. And don't worry about it when you're not getting anything close to that for the first while. Just go out there and do the best you can and just try different things, experiment around. Try to, you'll probably start with auto mode, but as soon as possible, try to learn manual mode. And then once you got manual mode, just try to learn the basics of Photoshop or Lightroom, at least Lightroom. Lightroom's easier. And then shoot in RAW. Shooting in RAW will be able, it gives you the power to take your photos to the next level.
How so?
And it's a process. Don't try to rush it. Just go and take those photos and learn and try these different perspectives. You see all the people standing and taking the photo of, the deer in the field, whatever. If you're in a national park, wherever you see wildlife, whatever, there's a whole row of photographers. Don't, just because everyone's taking it from the same angle, don't do that. Get down on your hands and knees or something and kind of shoot through some grass with a melted foreground and try just different angles and stuff, and that's how you'll learn what works, and that's how you'll get that different, unique, beautiful photo. And yeah, it won't happen overnight, but after a few months of shooting 1,000 photos a week, I can guarantee that if you actually are genuinely looking at them and seeing what looks good and what doesn't, and you're trying to learn manual mode and whatever, you will start getting some really incredible stuff really quick.
To backtrack a little bit, something that I found a little bit curious. What's the specific difference separating, per se, a JPEG from a RAW? As you said, you can edit.
Okay, yeah,
this is something.
This is something that I didn't even know for a while.
Let's get technical.
Yeah, so this is simple. So JPEGs basically just record the data that you're seeing on the screen. So you see this image, and that's the image you get. You can edit in post-process, but it's not really that much you can do with it. Whereas RAW saves all the information, the whole gamut of information that the camera can capture. And so it's a much larger file, but it makes it so once you can pull it on the computer screen, and you can adjust a lot of the settings, not to quite the same level you could at the location, but pretty close. And so you can shoot a photo, that is super, super dark, and you can bring everything up to make it look like it was shot in broad daylight, and it'll probably be decent quality. Whereas if you took that same JPEG photo and you tried to bring up the shadows and everything, it would look awful. It would be totally unusable. And so it gives you room for error, and also makes it so you can, if you see afterwards, you get it on the big screen, you're like, oh man, if I made, the highlights just a little darker here, this is going to be an incredible shot. Or I change the white balance a little bit. You do that, and boom, it saves your life.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense overall.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Well, now getting into more like a free form part of the podcast per se. What would you say have been some highlights or some cool experiences that in specific that you find interesting?
Well, it was really, something like, more, I guess, personal thing. It was really fun and really cool
Sure.
getting my photos like in Nat Geo kids,
Yeah.
and
How
then
did that happen?
yeah, and like so it was through some competitions.
Sure.
Uh, and then like also the vice president's house, same thing,
Hmm.
through some
Yeah.
competitions again through Nat Geo up for that. Um,
Yeah.
and that was really a cool feeling. But also like some of the places I've been, and like just in this last 2 week road trip, we were doing
Yeah.
crazy schedule, crazy hours. Like we would one
For
night
sure.
we'd get up at 3 in the morning to go get the sunrise, and then the next night we'd stay up till 4:45 doing astrophotography, and it was wild. But the experiences, the memories, like
Yeah.
when else are
Of
you hiking,
course.
back a 5 mile hike up a mountain, in pitch black through the redwoods at 3 in the morning or whatever. That's just, you wouldn't if I wasn't shooting those photos. And it's those memories. Like I'm gonna remember that hike for my life
Of course.
probably.
Yeah.
Whereas if I had just gone and hiked the trail, in middle of the day just to hike the trail, I'd forget it in a week. And just things like that. It's taken me, it's pushed me, and I think it's really
Yeah.
important to be pushed in life.
If anything, this right now is the age to get out there and really do
Yeah,
what you love. So just inspiration for everybody or anybody that wants to just take it.
yeah.
Here's someone who did it. He paved the road for all of you. Funny. What are some kind of more small detail based tips that you have around photography? Like something interesting based on your experience. That
Yeah, learn a good editor like Photoshop or Lightroom early, and learn it well. Just spend like like I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours learning it. Photoshop is a incredible tool, but it's very not user friendly. And it has,
sure.
like, I still know only just the tiniest bit, and I've put
Hmm.
so many hours in. But just learn the basics.
Sure.
There's great YouTube tutorials, and just learn the basics, because that unlocks a whole new level of photography when you can do these basic edits in Photoshop. It makes it so you can take your photos once you've got the composition and all that, and you got a base. It makes it so you can turn your photograph from recording something into art. And at least for me, that's what I really enjoy. And
Sure. For
so
sure.
that's one tip. Just go out there and shoot. That's another. Like, don't worry, oh man, this guy has a better lens than me, a better body, whatever.
Yeah.
Just, even with your phone, with an iPhone, you can take incredible photos. Like, honestly, portrait mode, it
There
it
you
does
go.
great things. Like, that's
Magic.
another thing. Another tip for photographers, especially if you're doing portraits, you just want to lower that f-stop. People don't realize it's not something that at least for me, it took me a while to learn this. You want to lower that f-stop, get that shallow depth of field, because that'll make the subject pop, and it'll take your photos, make it look like you're a professional. And you can do
Sure.
that with an iPhone with
With an
portrait mode,
iPhone. Portrait
and it
mode.
looks pretty good. Just
There you go.
that'll just even shooting, like, your Instagram photos or whatever on the iPhone with portrait mode instead of doing it
Yeah.
with normal mode will up your photos that much. People are like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Where did that come
Um,
from?
and it's just actually with your iPhone. So yeah, just and mess around with settings, try different things.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
just it's about trial and error, and just go out and get started. That's
a
a little tip, I
little
guess.
plug for what Frohne is going on. Continuing with the iPhone theme, Photoshop and Lightroom are free on iPhone.
That's right. And
Yeah,
that's a good
on
start, because
Apple devices.
those have some of the basic features, those first features you should learn for the desktop version. And so once you've got comfortable with those versions, move over to the desktop and give it a try.
What are you shooting the most right now, Frohne? Are you like? Do you have a favorite thing to shoot? Landscape,
I love
portrait,
landscapes. I've always loved
anything?
landscapes. It's just, I don't know, it's so much fun to capture the natural beauty, because I love views already. Like, I'm a sucker for a view.
Sure.
Like, that's, give me a view, man. I'm just gonna enjoy it. And I love capturing that, because it's hard. Because a lot of times landscapes have such different varying amounts of light. And so, on a
Sure.
photo, you can't capture that like what the eye sees very well. And that's where it gets into making sure you get that clean slate, so you can make it like what you would see, and really convey the true beauty later in Photoshop. And so that's really been fun. And then astrophotography, because that's really challenging. That's like one of the hardest
Yeah.
forms of photography. And I enjoy challenging myself, and it's kind of pushing myself and giving me something, a little different. I've been really enjoying that recently. Also wildlife photography. Man, I'm just going over all the types, I guess. But
Nature,
wildlife
separate
photography
nature,
has been, I've been enjoying that too, just because it's challenging. It requires
Sure.
patience, and I like exercising, trying to get my patience up.
Very nice.
But yeah, landscapes is definitely my
Good way to
forte and
go.
my favorite. But yeah.
Do you have any specific reason why? Do you remember as a child just gravitating towards that? Or is there any specific moment where
Well, because
an event that took you there?
it's something that's seems obvious, because as for me, like I was doing these road trips, and you see all these great views and you want to capture them.
Sure.
And that's kind of what got me started. But I realized soon that just capturing them wasn't it. You gotta do it right, and you have to hit it with the right light and whatever. And so that's kind of where it morphed into it. And like now I challenge myself to, like, I don't want to just shoot a landscape like there's 8 million other of the same location, because a lot of times the best views, they're super photographed, whatever. I also like finding other alternative views, which are different, like maybe you've never photographed before. But I want to take, I don't want to just take the same photos, all the other people that are going to come through that day. I want to take a photo
do your own thing,
different, that's to another level, that really people are like, oh, that's really incredible, that's gorgeous. And I have two reasons. It feels great to share beauty, but also even just getting out there. If you're not photographing, just getting out in nature and going out and doing things, I think that's one of the best things you can do for your life. And it inspires people to get out there, and so it's just a win-win-win.
Get those legs moving, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure. Is there any stories you want to share? Is there any comment you have? Anything you want to get out there that really speaks to you? Anything you're passionate about? It's your time.
Just get out there. That's kind of the message. Just even if you're not taking photos, just get out there, get out in nature, explore the world. Don't just follow that cookie cutter, go on the straight line that everyone else is doing. Go out there, explore. You're driving down the highway one day, you see a mountain next to the road, pull over, climb that. Do stuff like that.
It is that simple. There you go.
It literally is. A lot of times you may not have anything for the rest of the day, but you're gonna keep driving. You look at it and you're like, man, I wanna, it'd be cool. Wonder what the views from on top. But 99.9% of the people are gonna keep driving. Don't be that 99.9%. Pull over, climb the mountain.
There you go.
Just do things. Live your life. Get out there. Yeah.
It's fun. You enjoy it.
And that's gonna make a memory. Even if you have an awful time, it's the hardest climb, whatever. It's gonna be a great memory, and you'll learn from it, and and it will make you a better person.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. I really enjoyed talking to you. Is there any current projects you're working on? Is there anything you want people to know? Is there anything where can people find you? Where can people find your work?
So you can find me on Instagram at William Frohne, WILLIAM FROHNE. You can also search up Frohne Photography. I do have that listed as a business on Google. Really? I've got a Facebook page for that. But my Instagram is my main. It's the way I run my business side of photography mainly. Hit me up on that. If you want to go for a shoot or something, you have anything like that, just slide into those DMs. But yeah, no, that's basically it. And thank you, Pedro. This was
there
great.
You have it. The amazing Frohne did on Nat Geo on Joe Biden's house, and soon in your Instagram feed.
That's right.
There you go. Thank you for coming. I really enjoyed talking.
Thank you for having me. This has been good.
Really cool. Hey guys, this was the first episode of the Insommnia Overdose podcast. We're still looking for a name, so if you got a suggestion, please comment or DM. That would be pretty cool. I want to apologize for the quality. We're still learning how to work this out, and hopefully with time we can get there. If you would like to come on the show and talk about your passion for some type of art, your inspirations, or something that you aspire to do, please contact us and we'll be more than happy to work something out. Stay tuned for a new episode every Sunday. Other than that, thank you for listening and have a wonderful day.